Hello and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, beer history, beer flavor profiles. We give shout outs to breweries we think make exceptional beer, and we talk about whatever else happens to come to mind during the course of the conversation. I'm Rob from the Internet. Let's talk about beer. Joining me today is one of my recently acquired Twitter friends, Nik Cameron. If you would, Nik, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got into craft beer, and what you do when you're not talking or drinking craft beer.
Sure thing. The easiest way to describe how I got into craft beer was I realized that one, and this is going to get really heavy really quick, but I'll quickly divert to fun things. Based on my upbringing, I didn't realize one could drink beer without getting drunk. Had weird parents that liked to party all the time. Anyway, not the point. But then I decided I wanted to start trying to drink beer because I met my best friend who could drink without getting drunk. And he's like, I'm like, why do you do that? He's like, I like beer. I'm like, wait, what? You like beer? Beer tastes like ass. I'm sorry. I tend to curse a little bit. On my podcast, it's beer, metal, and swearing.
That's fine. My show is not funded nor monetized or in any way. It's strictly done because it's something I want to do. So if you drop swear words, including the F-bomb, hey man, I don't care.
They will happen because I've got a strong beer here, so it will. Anyway, so I decided I wanted to drink beer, but I needed to be better than the people like my parents who drank shit beer. Like, my father drank red, white, and blue, which you're from Illinois. You're originally from Illinois, so you have heard of that. Your average person, however, has not heard of that, so I can describe it easily. Knock off PBR.
Yes.
Not knock off PBR now where that's all, cool and hipstery, but when it tasted like watered down pig swill, somebody decided, well, that stuff's just not cheap enough.
Right.
And that's what my father drank. Yeah. So, and then my mother would just drink. Anyway, so I had to drink something better than that. And my friend Chris, who is a minister, interestingly enough, performed my wedding and my mother's funeral, to give you an idea of how close and long we've been together, introduced me to Schlafly Pale Ale.
And Schlafly makes decent beer?
Yes, they do. Amazing beers when they hit it. I mean, they're great company when they hit it. Awful when they don't. Like their Oktoberfest, some years is great, some years is awful. Their Scotch Ale, same difference. Anyway, not the point. So that was it's the longest running craft beer brewery in St. Louis, Missouri, and that was where I got started. That was where because at that time I thought a pale ale was Rolling Rock because it said pale ale on the front.
Right.
I didn't know it was an exceptionally pale lager because I was extraordinarily ignorant. But as time went on, I got more and more into import beer, into craft beer, and I have really kind of lost my taste for imports for the most part, except for, like, say, Joker IPA. I do totally dig Iron Maiden's The Trooper. Again, beer, metal, swearing. I did not like the Trooper IPA, though. It was not hoppy enough for me, as we'll get into significantly, I'm sure, as this goes on. But when I am not drinking craft beer, the three biggest loves I have in this world, apart from, my wife and kid, are hockey, which I'm wearing my game-worn Peoria Rivermen jersey, the 2006-07 Set 1 away Curtis Sanford game-worn, which was the last Rivermen jersey he wore before becoming a full-time member of the St. Louis Blues.
Nice.
Long story there. I'm not going to get into it. So it's hockey, music, preferably on vinyl. As you can see.
I can see you've got a nice collection of vinyl behind you. Yep.
Yes. And beer. So, wait a minute. That's not, okay. Take out beer, we'll add video games. Because, it's supposed to be three things, not beer. So, apologies.
Whatever. So, if I would have known you were going to show up in your Rivermen's jersey, I would have worn my Ice Hogs jersey, seeing as I am from Rockford. And I don't know how many times they have beat the Rivermen, but I'm sure there's plenty of times they've beat the Rivermen, and there's probably plenty of times the Rivermen have beat the Ice Hogs. So
okay. In fairness, had I known you were from Rockford, I would have worn my Missouri River Otters UHL jersey.
Oh, ooh, gonna go UHL on me. I see. Yeah, well, I still could have worn an Ice Hogs jersey because they were UHL before they were AHL.
Correct. And every time I went to Rockford and took in a game in the big orange box,
Yes.
it was always against the Missouri River Otters back in the U. So the year Rockford went to the A was the year Peoria went to the A, or maybe the year after. And it was the year after. Same year they went to the A, and the Missouri River Otters folded.
Yep.
So and now the Rivermen kind of folded too. Now they're in the SPHL, but it's not the same franchise. But
gotcha.
It's minor league hockey. Anybody who follows minor league hockey knows what an horrible cesspool that place is, full of mob ties and God only knows what else.
God only knows what else. Yeah. I actually used to enjoy the Ice Hogs when they were a UHL team more, but then when they were an AHL, because when they were UHL, man, they used to get in fights all the time, and then they moved they moved up to the AHL, and suddenly they had a conduct standard they had to live up to, and I was like, oh man.
For people, because we look to be roughly the same age, and for people that aren't our age that watch hockey now, you could never understand what hockey was like. When the first UHL game I went to, actually it might have been against the Ice Hogs. I think we won 5-1 in the River Otters' first season back in 2000, and the Otters went up 3-0, and then it was time for violence.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, 3-0, game over. Always over. So now we send a message. And at that point in time, we had ex-NHL enforcers on the team. We had Darren Kimball, who was an enforcer for the Blues and the Nordiques on a Double A team, just beating the crap out of young kids.
Yep.
Because why not?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's what it's all about. Anyway, so today we are going to be talking about DIPAs or Imperial IPA or Double IPA, whatever you want to call it. I am going to be drinking a local one, seeing as I am now located in Canada. I'm going to be drinking one from Muskoka Brewery called Twice as Mad Tom. So it's a dry hopped Imperial IPA, so it's going to be really hoppy. And anyone who really knows me knows this is really not my style, but I'm taking one for the team.
Well, I apologize for that. I am drinking personally, and I like the term DIPA. That's just me. I am drinking this is actually my favorite beer, period. It is only available in St. Louis. It is brewed about... It's brewed a boot.
A boot?
It's brewed a boat. It's brewed a boat 2 miles from my house at Urban Chestnut Brewing.
Oh yeah, I know Urban Chestnut.
Locust. I'm actually going there next week with my best friend. We're going to go to the best steakhouse and get giant porterhouse steaks, and then we're going to head over to UCBC and get a couple of giant Oktoberfest beers while we still can. And it is a 10% double IPA.
Ooh,
get the logo.
That's a heavy hitter. Mine only comes in at like 8.4. So it's at the bottom. It's at the bottom level of what is considered a double IPA.
And it's a pint.
And well, as is mine. I mean, tall boy can. That's common. Even with the aluminum shortage, it's still a common thing up here is the tall boy can. I actually prefer the shorter cans for most beers because then I can have more of them, and I can have a wider variety of beers in a single session. I don't have to have a beer and a half every time I have a beer.
I like the tall boy cans because it slows me down. In the last year and a half in the pandemic, there's just been a lot of boredom and not going anywhere.
Right.
So, when you're not doing any, especially when I was working from home. When I was working from home, I was probably having 5 a day.
Yeah,
every day
I work from home permanently, so yeah, I understand completely.
4:30 hit, and it wasn't okay. 4:30 hit, drive home. It's 4:30 hit. Okay, let me turn on Monster Hunter and crack open a beer. And then 5 o'clock, and I'm like, wow, I don't need to cook dinner for another hour. All right, give me another one.
Guess I'll have another beer.
Right, and So I liked so I started drinking more pints at that point because it was a great compromise in my mind.
Yeah, I
So I'm
know.
still drinking. I'm still drinking beer,
Right, I
but
get it.
I'm drinking less.
Yeah. So I have the fortunate or unfortunate advantage that one, I work from home on a permanent basis. Two, I brew beer, and three, I live 10 minutes from a fantastic brewery that I went to today during my lunch hour for my normal job, and picked up 2 growlers of what's left of their Martzen, their Oktoberfest beer.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I live within. Let me think. In driving distance, there is UCBC. There is Civil Life. St. Louis is now above pre-prohibition levels.
yeah. Well,
We are not.
you've got what? You've got 4 paddles. What else?
Four hands.
Four hands. That's what it is. 4 hands.
Which actually is a cousin. It's my wife's cousin's cousins on the other side.
Oh,
So
you've got a little bit of
I
an
don't-
in there.
no, because it's a Catholic family and there's 700 cousins. So I got nothing. I'm not a big. Although 4 hands is well within driving. It's well within distance. It's. I pass it on my way home every day. On my way. It's 2 exits down the highway, and everybody loves them, and they're a great brewery, but they don't fit my taste because they love to do wacky things like peanut butter stout, and I'm like, okay, I don't need that. Like the Hellas episode, I like my beer to be beer flavored, not blueberry flavored. And their Divided Sky IPA is all right. Their Ruination IPA is all right. It's a little bit too light for me. I mean, if you take a look at this one, this is a pretty dark copper color.
Oh, that's a lovely copper color.
It's Cascade, Chinook, and I forget the other hops. It doesn't have Noble, which is unfortunate. Noble is my favorite. Noble and Cascade are my favorite hops. It does have a very strong malt backbone, giving it an amazing mouthfeel, which takes some of the bitterness away. It's almost the kind of IPA that you would give somebody to introduce them to the style, a lot like Hop Slam. Hop Slam was my in.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't know what an IPA was, as we all know now, because we're all nerds about this. We've gone crazy. It's the beers to be exported to India back in the time when it took 6 months to get beers to India.
Right.
Because they didn't have any breweries yet. So what they did was they doubled the hops. Well, in America, we do everything 4 to 5 times as much as need be.
America. Fuck yeah.
America. Oh, yeah. So we took the humble 4.5 India export pale ale and went, you know what that could use? Way fucking more booze. And now we have the American DIPA.
Right. So yeah. So mine isn't as dark as yours. Mine comes in more of an orangish amber color. But holy cow, is it grapefruit, orange, and pine on the nose?
I'm not sure if it's my allergies or if there's just not much of an aroma. I don't know. I'm gonna blame my allergies. This is
let's blame
hoppy as
yeah
hell.
let's blame your allergies, man. Yeah. So this one, the aroma. I mean, it is like I'm getting like the grapefruit rind. Like if you were to take a grapefruit and kind of like peel off some of the rind and sniff that, kind of an orangey, citrusy. And then you got that piney the piney aroma, which is typical of a real IPA, and then a little bit, but not a whole lot of like that kind of alcohol scent. Like if
this has none of that. And by sniffing the can, getting the real concentrated, it is the allergies. I learned by sniffing a can. I have never sniffed a can. Here we are.
can sniffer.
Hey, new days. And well, it's better than the other things I could be sniffing, but I'm not going to get into that unless somebody needs me to. Still no. But it's got a very strong malt smell, which for an IPA is exceptionally odd. But I think that comes down to what St. Louis is. The smell of St. Louis is pollution and burning malts.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I mean, if your beer is based off of a traditional English IPA, it's going to have a very malt heavy backbone. If
Right.
if it's more of a West Coast, it's going to be a lot more bitter. If it's an East Coast, obviously it's going to be a lot more fruity. But if the base recipe is based off of an old school English IPA, which in my opinion is the only real IPA. Yeah.
So what you're going to say is the Midwest Coast IPA is not a thing.
Not a thing. Nope.
Okay, well, Urban Chestnut disagrees because they have the Midwest Coast Fantasyland IPA, which is not quite as heavy as this one, but still delicious.
Yeah, so in my eyes, the only real IPA is an old school English IPA where you've got that heavy malt backbone with that bitter finish and punch you in the mouth at the end.
Look, I love a good Green King IPA. But this is better than a Green King. This is even better than the Joker Scottish IPA, which is one of my absolute favorites. Unfortunately, I can't get it here anymore. For some reason, they decided to stop sending us Scottish beers.
You don't need them. You got enough breweries there.
I'm going to heartily disagree because a Belhaven Scottish Ale is just delightful. And, you know, if Iron Maiden is going to make all these styles of beer, which most of them, frankly, aren't that good, why don't they make a Scottish Ale? I mean, help me out here. Although we have in St. Louis, we have the oldest FM radio station, KC95, and their current KC95 beer by Imperial Brewing is a Scottish Ale. I had a 6-pack. It's all right.
Yeah. For people who might be interested, the proper glassware for an IPA or a double IPA is a tulip glass. I am drinking mine out of a Teku glass, which is technically a tulip style glass, but it's a little more angular. So you get the same kind of characteristic. Temperature that it should be served at is 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit for you non-metric people, which is 10 to 12 degrees Celsius in real degrees.
Wow, somebody has gone native.
Oh, well, so here's the thing. Growing up and all through school and college, I was a science major, so I learned both Fahrenheit and Celsius. So when I moved to Canada, it was no big deal for me to switch over from imperial to metric units.
I used to do a lot of business in Canada. I'm in sales. My vocation is sales. My avocation is podcasting and beers and music.
Yep.
But I used to do a lot of work in Canada because there weren't, at the time I sold steel pipe. I sold very specialized steel pipe, and there wasn't a whole lot of competition. So I had to be able to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius immediately. The one thing I didn't understand is Canadians' use of the humidex. So I can remember talking to people in Calgary and like, no, it gets to 40 degrees up here. And I'm like, huh? Really? That's like 102.
Right.
They're like, well, with the humidex.
With the humidex, yeah.
And I'm like, now for Americans, that means heat index.
Right. The heat index is the humidex, yeah. It's just a different term for the same type of thing.
Right. But I didn't know that. But eventually I figured this out. And my Canadian friends all do it that way. They go by the heat index. And I'm like, no, dude, it gets to 110 just here.
Yep.
Then we get the heat index. So we get to like 125.
Right. Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah, I still...
And down to negative 30 Fahrenheit in the winter. So
right.
It is just awful here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm from Illinois. I'm used to that. You know, the hottest of the hot, the coldest of the cold. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I talking about? It's negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit in Rockford, Illinois, because we get the wind coming from the north, and there's there's literally no hills to stop anything. It's flat land.
So yeah, that's exactly how it is down here, except we get hotter than Rockford did.
Right, yeah, because you're south.
Because if you, right, we're right in the middle. So if you go, the first, like, case in point, the first time I went to Quad City for a hockey game, I remember getting out of the car. We had been driving for 2 hours. We get out of the car, and it was the first time I had ever really driven north. And I get out of the car, and I'm like, holy hell, it's cold. I mean, yeah, at the time, north. It was 100 miles north of St. Louis.
Right.
Really north, you know. Well, we hadn't even gotten to Iowa yet. I have been to Canada since then, so I mean, I've been north, but this wasn't that time. But it dropped 10 degrees, 10, 15 degrees in an hour. And now if you drive an hour south, it jumps up 10 to 15 degrees.
Yep.
In the very bottom of Missouri, you can grow cotton. and in the very top of Missouri, you can die of hypothermia.
Right. Yeah. Well, having lived in Hannibal, Missouri, I lived in the middle, and I can tell you that it got both.
That's how we get here. We always have a really strong hot snap and a really strong cold snap.
Yep.
Where we get to, we do go to -30, not wind chill, but -30, yep, all the way up to 115. So
yeah,
in this city, we have a 145-degree swing and a fuckload of potholes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So funny thing a
metric fuck ton.
A metric fuck ton, yes. So where I moved to in Canada, I actually only moved about 105 miles north and 350 miles east. I'm actually where I live in Canada is actually lower than the entire state of Minnesota. I'm latitude wise, I'm on par with Milwaukee. So the weather didn't change at all for me moving here.
So let me see. You're not in Sarnia.
No, I am east.
I'm in. To quote John Cleese in the Cheese Shop, I'm in clean to guess. So I know Canadian geography way better than every American who's not a hockey player. I am going to make the guess that you're near Kitchener.
Close. I am in Brantford, home of
Wayne Gretzky.
Home of Wayne Gretzky and headquarters for the Zamboni Corporation.
You are forgetting somebody very important, but I forgot his name, so I need to.
So you've forgotten it as well.
No, I haven't. I can remember his face. Oh God! Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. What happened to the NHL? Why aren't they fighting anymore?
So for anybody interested, God. I am drinking Twice as Mad Tom. The malts involved are Maris Otter, two-row pale ale malt. Hops include Millennium, Chinook, Columbus, and Cascade. Food pairings that go well with this style of beer are grilled meats such as pork chops, pulled pork, sharp cheeses, and Indian cuisine because the spiciness of the Indian cuisine would be cut by the bitterness of the beer.
It was Tim Henderson of the Laval Chiefs, which nobody's ever heard of unless you're from Quebec or you're a big hockey fan.
Yeah, I do not know who that is. So
the LNAH was a league where they would have 7 to 8 fights a game.
Gotcha.
And so there was a documentary done by one of the players' brothers on a part, not even the whole Goon Squad because they had 8 dudes, but on some of the Goon Squad for an entire season. And it is the most gut-wrenching movie on minor league hockey anybody can watch. He is from Brantford.
Gotcha. So. Yeah. Another thing, in case anybody's interested, Brantford has the most, the highest number of Tim Horton restaurants per capita of any city in Canada.
We used to have Tim Hortons, and then Burger King America bought Tim Hortons America.
They did.
And they told our franchisee who was going to do 50 restaurants, oh, yeah, we're not going to honor your old agreement. You have to honor the new agreement. He's like, nope, got a contract. And they said, all right, we're taking away your store here.
Oh, wow.
How about your contract now?
That's all right.
And eventually we ran out.
I mean, Tim Hortons isn't all that great. Up here, it's mainly
Heartily disagree.
It's a nostalgia thing up here for people. I mean, the food is mediocre. The coffee, well, I'm not really a coffee drinker, so I can't really speak to that. But everyone I've talked to said the coffee used to be good. Now it's not. So
I really like their vanilla iced coffee, and I can't get that anymore. The food is mediocre. I mean, it's fast.
Yeah, it's fast food. I mean, you know how you solve your problem of not being able to get that Tim Hortons fix that you've got is come to Canada.
I have been trying. I don't think. It's not going to happen.
Hey,
now.
Borders are open. Don't you dare say you can't get up here.
I've been trying to convince my wife even to go on vacation up there. You know, she's like, "Where's our next fun vacation? I need something to look forward to." I'm like, "Toronto." She's like, "Why? It's not Nova Scotia."
Hey,
I have this desire to go to Halifax. I can't really.
I have friends in Halifax. I have friends in New Brunswick. So yeah, I understand. Does your wife like wine?
I don't.
No, I was gonna say you could spin that angle because where I live, we're only an hour from Canada's wine country, and there are some fantastic wineries up here.
I'm only 30 minutes from Missouri's wine country, which rivals California's.
I don't know.
However, the idea of drinking wine at a winery in Canada in August does sound a little bit better than doing that here.
Yeah, most definitely. Also, wine country in Canada is also prime beer country in Canada.
Yeah, one of my winery that I would love to go to. They do wine and beer. They have some amazing beer. They have a Gunslinger Double IPA, and I totally have forgotten. I've blanked on their name. And then Tin Mill Brewing is also in Herman, Missouri, which is the heart of Missouri's wine country. We went down there once for a wedding, and we had time, so we ended up going to the Tin Mill Brewery restaurant, which was nice. But
nice.
Yeah, beer and wine is pretty much all over here. Yeah, so that wouldn't work.
So,
I've been trying to convince her to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, though, because the last time I was in Buffalo, I didn't go, partially because she wasn't there.
Well, are you talking the Hockey Hall of Fame in the United States, or the real real Hockey Hall of Fame here in Canada?
I'm sorry, no, the Canadian one. I'm sorry. When you said the real one, I didn't know that there was an American one. I guess there has to be.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, who the hell would give it?
Right? No, the one in Toronto, yeah, is and literally it's I don't know what Toronto's like an hour and a half from Buffalo, so.
Yeah, it's like 90 minutes, and every time I've been to Buffalo, I always went over into Canada. The first time we drove, instead of driving back through the States, we drove back through Canada. My wife is like, "Why do you want to do that?" I'm like, "Well, we drove to Buffalo because you're 7 months pregnant, and now there's Canada. So let's drive through Canada." She's like, "Don't you want to do that when we have more time? You're going to kick out a kid here in 3 months. When is that time coming?"
In 18 years.
Response: we can drive through Canada. So that's why I know where Sarnia is.
Sarnia / Port Huron, depending on which side of the border you're on, is actually the way I take when I go back to visit friends and family in Illinois. I take 69 through Michigan, which over to 94, and 94 to 90 into Rockford. So.
Yeah, and so we did that. Stopped in London to go to the beer store. Holy crap, I dropped like $60. At the time I'm walking, I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe I spent so much money. Because the taxes are so high, but it pays for healthcare. So, I mean, it all works out. Actually, well, not for me anymore, because my new job actually pays for my healthcare, which is weird. First job I've ever had that did that. But I, as I'm getting into the car, I'm like, oh, wait, it's Canadian.
Yeah, and
it was still a lot, but it was
depending
Canadian.
On when it was somewhere in the neighborhood of actually about half of what you thought you spent.
No, actually, it was closer to
okay,
par.
so it was back. It was during that brief period where it was pretty much on par with the U.S. dollar.
Yes, because at the time, again, I was in sales, and I was doing a lot of work in Canada because you had NAFTA, you had all that business going on, and we had specialized stuff, and they were like, yeah, sure, we'll buy it from the States, who cares? And I made so much money. It was great, and then it went back to normal, and it was hard. But yeah, so it was around that time. So yeah, this would have been November of 2010, which was still it wasn't par at that point, but it wasn't the usual 75%. Right. It was closer to 87%.
Yeah, and I think right now we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 78 to 80%. But yeah.
A little high, but not
when I moved here, I was actually still working for a U.S. company, and I was working remotely, and it was absolutely fantastic. I was making my U.S. salary and living in Canada, so it was like getting a 30% pay raise.
That would be lovely. I've never had that.
Yeah, it was nice, you know. So I'd get my paycheck and I'd have it transferred up to my Canadian account, and it'd go from, so my paycheck, you know, I don't know, it was $2,200 US or whatever for every 2 weeks. I'd get it transferred up to the Canadian, and it'd be like $3,500. I'm like, oh, absolutely fantastic.
An old friend of mine, he brought his Canadian girlfriend down from Windsor. She was a Windsor girl, and she was a DJ at a strip club, as you do. And he ends up bringing her down to the States, and he was telling me when he used to go visit her, he said, the greatest thing in the world is when you walk up in Canada, and they tell you it's $23, you hand them a 20, and they give you back change.
So when I was first dating my wife, we went to there's a fair in Toronto every year, and people will know I'm not from Canada because I say Toronto with the actual T at the end there instead of Toronto.
Wait,
no,
is it not?
No, they say like Tirana or things like that. You know, they kind of blend it together. But we went to this agricultural fair called the Royal, and there was a vendor there who had handmade leather luggage and purses and things like that. And she was going to buy this purse that was, I don't know, it was like $200 Canadian. I'm like, no, let me buy it with my American money. And it ended up being like, you know, $90.
Now, it's similar. It's similar because my wife and I we vacation in Mexico from time to time. Partially because I speak fluent Spanish.
Hola!
Which makes it... Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo está? ¿Está bien? Yo estoy bien. Estoy tomando una cerveza muy bien de mi ciudad. Anyway, not the point. And so you always have to do... It's like $12. It's like 12 to 14 pesos per dollar. Now, the only time that's ever caused a problem was when I was negotiating a taxi fare in Spanish, and I got the numbers confused. So, did not end well. In fact, I spent all of our spending money for that trip to town in the taxi.
Way to go.
And yeah, I really nailed it that day. Heard about it a lot for some reason. Don't know why. Then the last time we were there, we found an ATM. We had never used an ATM in Mexico. And so you had to like calculate how much the fee was. This ATM was specifically put there for Americans. The fee was $20 American. And I went, well, I do want those tacos.
How bad do you want tacos? Do you want...
I had sea bass and marlin tacos down there on that trip. I had never had sea bass or marlin, and I have been pining for those tacos ever since because... And then like 2 months later, the pandemic started. So shit. Hopefully, you know, we'll get back there. Our next trip is going to be back down to the same area we went to. We're going to go to Guadalajara next time because I want to go to a Chivas de Guadalajara soccer match. And probably wear a jersey and get beat up. So, yeah.
Just show up wearing like a, you know, Liverpool or...
No, Chivas is my Mexican team. We're getting an MLS team in 2023, so the only problem is the name is. I was hoping they were going to be called St. Louis, STL City FC. They went with St. Louis City SC.
Soccer club instead of football club.
Yeah, that's not bad, but say that out loud, enunciate and say it.
So what did you say it was? It's ST.
Oh, St. Louis City SC.
City SC.
No, you left a couple out. St. Louis City SC. Or as I call them, the St. Louis City Cobra Commanders.
Those Cobra Commanders. G.I. Joe.
There's too many
yeah.
in there.
It's very what's the word for that? Sibilance. It's got a lot of sibilance.
Sibilance, yes. It's very. This is clearly a poorly pressed vinyl record towards the end of the side where you get that.
Why would they go with SC instead of FC? Everyone on the fucking planet uses FC. God.
No, there are SCs. Not many. The Division II team we had was STLFC,
Right.
football club, and we are St. Louis is like the American soccer capital. The only time we ever beat a European club, 5 of the 11 starters are from the Hill. Like, you can go to any restaurant on the Hill and you see pictures of those guys, even now. And it's so stupid. Although, personally, I say soccer because I once heard an Irishman explain that the term soccer came from FA Association. Because in the late 1800s, they had 2 sports called football in England, rugby and soccer.
Right.
So soccer became soccer because of it said FAASSOC.
As opposed to, if you're talking to somebody from Ireland, then there's also Celtic football, which is completely different from football.
And then there's Australian football, which is completely different
And
than
then
all
there's
of
Canadian football, where there's an extra...
The
where
best
there's
kind,
an extra
the best
5
kind
yards.
Of like, they have an extra 10 yards long, extra 20 yards wide, extra dude on the field, 1 less down. So cover more ground, do it faster. Here's an extra guy, and we're going to give you a point if you get a touchback.
So here's the point where people realize, I don't follow a lot of sports. I know a little bit about hockey, and that's about it.
I follow hockey. I follow the Blues pretty religiously. It's actually something that my wife and I bonded over when we first started dating. When we first started dating, the Blues were in the toilet. They had just come off the first overall pick of the entire franchise. They had finished last and traded off everybody, and they sold the team. So nobody gave two. It was the next year that we met, and nobody gave 2 craps about the team at that point. The year they got the first round pick and finished last, I had an in where I got free tickets to Blues games. I met a guy who part of his PR job was to give away a pair of tickets to every Blues game. He's like, I can't do you first because I got to spread it around. But I'll, if I don't get any takers, you can go. So I'm guessing I was like 6th or 7th on the list. I don't know. He never told me. I went to 30 games that year.
That's a fair amount of games.
That's 70%
right?
of them. So can't ask you every day. I'll ask you if nobody else will take them. And I went to 70% of them. He couldn't give them away. So the next year I had a 10-game pack, and one of our first dates was actually going to a game, and so it's always been kind of our thing. And she's gone to Peoria Rivermen game with me, not many. She went to the St. Charles Chill games, not many. St. Louis Junior Blues, and I mean hockey has always been a big part of our life. Our daughter played hockey for 4 years. Wish she would go back, but can't make her, so.
Kids change their mind.
As for Canadian football, I like to talk about how I follow it and love it so much. If hockey's not on, I watch it. Maybe, if I remember. I've been working on picking up my team that I followed for the past 4 years. I've almost settled on Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Almost. Not. Yeah. My best friend follows the Elks. Another friend of mine is a big fan of the Tiger Cats.
That's the local team here is the Tiger Cats, the Tie Cats.
Mm-hmm. That just seems like the dumbest name conceivable, so I can't bring myself. Tigers are cats.
Hey! I mean nothing. I mean we call them puppy dogs and kitty cats, which is also redundant. So why not tiger cats?
I don't call my cats.
Well,
kitty
okay,
cats.
you might be the exception, but a fair majority of people call them kitty cats, and they call them.
All right, okay, I'll give
and
you
they call
that.
and they say puppy
this...
dog, which is.
That is true. That is true. Now, however, every time I've gone to the zoo and gone to the big cat country here in the St. Louis Zoo, which is
it's a fantastic
zoo, the only one
zoo.
in the top 5 that's free, and the only one in the top 5 in America that's free. But moving forward, I have never gone to big cat country or whatever the hell it's called because I haven't been there in 10 years. I have never been there and heard anybody say, "Look at the tiger cats, look at the panther cats." No
Look
one
at the lion
says that.
cats.
Look look at those leopard cats. They're so much faster than they're almost as fast as the cheetah cats. No, it's not. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna drive my Toyota
Yeah, my
car.
Toyota car.
I'm gonna drive my Prius car. Nobody says that. Okay, so no. I'm gonna drive my Prius vehicle. Got to take it back a little bit farther. So yeah. So I'm not gonna follow the Thai cats. But I actually was when I was in Sarnia. It was a Sunday. We're driving almost out. My wife looks up and she goes, "Okay, we're about to leave Canada. Do you need to do anything else?" I had gotten poutine. I had gone to the beer store, so I was good. And I'm like, "No, but I could go for having a beer in a bar here." She's like, "All right, fine, go to Sarnia." I'm like, "Well, I hope the bars are open on Sundays up here." Because they weren't for a long time in Missouri. They weren't, because we had the blue laws
yes,
down here, thanks to the very, very not corrupt Southern Christians that we had in Missouri. But moving forward, so we end up in this bar, and there's in the behind the bar it was all NFL games, and on the TVs outside of the bar it was all Canadian football games. But nobody in the bar was watching the Canadian football game but me. And then there was a random English guy in like one of those English pint glasses with the handle and like the little scales on it, which I have no idea what that's even about. I'm sure you could probably teach me, but I think I don't want to know. I think I'm happier that way. But it was like the one guy walking around, "Oh, yeah, boys, you see the game?" And everybody else is just drinking Molson's or Labatt or whatever. But it was just the weirdest scene one of the weirdest scenes I've ever seen in my life. And nobody talked to me.
Well, I mean, that's Sarnia. So bringing things up, reining things in just a little bit, bringing them back towards more beer. Would you say what would
enough.
You say your favorite beer style is? Is it IPA?
My favorite beer style is the IPA. I don't, I don't put a whole lot of differentiation between the styles of IPA. There is the Scottish IPA, which almost no one's heard of because there's only like 4. And then, there's the Double IPA, the Imperial IPA, the Extra IPA, or the regular IPA. And then there's now the Session IPA. I mean, it's the only ones I really don't like are dry. I don't like dry hopped anything. And then there's now the Hazy IPA, which
that's just
I'm not a big
that's
fan
just
of
the
those
New England IPA / Hazy IPA. It's the IPA for people who don't like IPA.
Okay, well, I like IPAs and I hate them, so that checks out. Going back to Four Hands, they had one called Warhammer Double IPA. It's a hazy double IPA. I took a drink out of that, and my heartburn was so bad after one sip, I thought I was having a heart attack. And I'm loath to admit, but I finished it in the rest of the 4-pack. It was $15. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. But yes, the IPA is my favorite style. I have actually had probably too many IPAs in the past year and a half, and have forgotten to branch out. I get choice paralysis. So, like, my favorite stores are Trader Joe's and Aldi's to go grocery shopping.
And to be fair, Trader Joe's and Aldi, both owned by the same family, by the way.
Correct. Same family, different companies.
Have a decent selection of beers, and they have their own store brand beers. Trader Joe's is better, but they have their own selection of alcohols, which are their store brands, but they are made by major alcohol producers.
I have a 6-pack of Bosun Double IPA from Trader Joe's in my fridge right now, and I had one when I got home. That was my home from work beer. What I meant by Trader Joe's is better is their beer selection is better.
It's a better variety of beer that they have at Trader Joe's as well.
Well, yes, it's their in-house brands are better, and their outhouse brands.
Their outhouse brands?
I mean,
you sitting out in the outhouse? Dick.
Well, I am from Missouri. I mean, I got family in the
taking a shit and drinking a beer at the same time while wiping your ass with the Sears catalog.
Okay, 1, that's disgusting, but 2, I have had a shower beer in Mexico. It was open bar all week, so I wasn't gonna miss out on that. I never have a real problem with drinking until it's free. The moment it becomes free, that's when I become.
Yeah, the floodgates open, and you're like, "Fuck it, I'm all over this."
And I'm like, I'm in Mexico. I paid for this, so yes, I got to get a bargain. It's like going to a buffet, right? I go to a buffet, not as much anymore because I've gotten older and I'm not going to say wiser, but
fatter. Yes.
So
I completely relate with that.
Look, I'm not wearing the hockey jersey, so you can't see my spectacular middle-aged physique. That is definitely not the reason. But I used to go there. How many animals can I eat? I think my record was 8, and it becomes the same way with free beer. But where was
I don't know.
I don't know. Go ahead.
But yeah, well, that's the beauty of this show. So you tend to get lost off in tangents, but as long as we relate it back to beer somehow, it's all good. So yeah.
Can I actually? I forgot to do something when I was introducing myself. Can I talk about my
absolutely
podcast for a
plug
minute?
yourself? Shameless self promotion is hardly encouraged.
Let me talk about one of my podcasts. I have 2. They're similar. You listen to one. We talk about them both from time to time. I am the co-host of the Glacially Musical Podcast, which is a primarily heavy metal history podcast. Right now, we are in the middle of finishing up our history of King's X of the 90s. We started doing a series where we talk about a band for an entire decade. So we do a 90s band, an 80s band, a 70s band. We are finishing up the last episode of King's X. Actually will post on Friday. You can get Glacially Musical Podcast with an R because I'm an idiot. I like to mispronounce things. That's like it's my charm. Like we eat hot dogs and things aren't unfortunate. They're unfortunate. I mean, it's me making fun of the coastal elites who pronounce everything differently. Because as I like to joke about myself, I am the Midwest coastal elite. And the Glacially Musical Podcast, basically it comes down to beer, metal, and swearing. It is my good friend Keefe Chakas, who gets a different name every week. And last week he was Keefe Changes, but not the point.
Changes.
Correct. I really took him off guard with that one. He's been Keefe Jacques Cousteau. I mean, whatever I think of. It's got to be a K or a sh sound because it's funny. And we have a beer check-in every week. We have a vinyl check-in every week, and then we talk about whatever we're doing. Starting next week, we're beginning our series on Quiet Riot of the 80s.
I mean, is there any other Quiet Riot really?
Yeah, yes and no. We're actually going to start in the 70s. They did 2 albums.
No, don't go there.
Featuring Randy Rhoads.
Don't go there, man.
Oh no, we have to. We're gonna no stone unturned, no troll left behind, and so we're gonna probably talk. We're gonna gloss over those. We're gonna talk about obviously their big album, Metal Health, and we're gonna go into the leaner years and breakups and shakeups and whatever. We've also done Metallica of the 90s. We did Iron Maiden of the 80s and Black Sabbath of the 70s. So it's the way we do this is we're doing 90s, 80s, 70s, and these episodes post every Friday, actually Thursday night, so that way I can start sharing them early.
I understand.
And you can get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
wherever you find podcasts.
Check it out. Pretty much. I mean, the whole goal is us just being silly, talking about music, and the finishing tagline of the show actually is, "It doesn't play in Peoria."
It doesn't play in Peoria, says the guy wearing a Peoria hockey jersey.
Do you know that joke? That is an old TV axiom. Where will it play when they were talking about what shows they would put on network television? Will it play in Peoria?
I was not aware. I was not aware of that.
If it plays in Peoria, it'll play everywhere.
Yeah, Peoria. For those who don't know, Peoria is Illinois' stinkiest city ever.
No, it is not. It is not. The stinkiest cities in Illinois are in Southern Illinois, where I used to live. That's where. Once I cross over, it's like, oh, we're in Stink State. One of my coworkers is from Alton, Illinois.
Yes.
One of the northernmost suburbs. And so he doesn't like it, but I call him a stink stater.
I mean,
where I used to live in Illinois, when the wind blew east, you smelled
right.
only pig shit.
And when it blew west, you smelled.
So I don't know. I was so happy that the pig shit stopped.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, man, you know, Nick, we have been nattering on for 50 minutes here. No. That's fine. That's what the show is all about. It's all about people just kind of hanging out and talking beer-related things. If we go off on tangents, we do. But we are at the point where I have to say, hey, this is the end of the show. If you enjoyed,
I know that feeling. I know. I got to do the same. And I appreciate. Thank you very much for having me. I absolutely love this. You are welcome to have me.
Oh, I will take you up on that. So if you
and I will. And you can pick the style.
Awesome. So it'll probably be something that you completely hate and have probably never heard of. But hey, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I don't know, man. I used to write, and when I used to be a food blogger, I've done a little bit of everything. And when I was a food blogger, my father-in-law and I, whom actually I didn't speak about. Well, that's shocking. I had like lots of stories lined up, but I was talking about myself. Sorry.
Way to be a narcissist.
So. Can't help it. I love the sound of my own voice. I mean, it's awful. That's why I try to speak a little bit deeper.
Thank you very much.
Bob and I had a beer column on my food blog called Beer Squared, where we would do, and I think we did 50 posts of just random different styles. Because he had a beer fridge of epic proportions, and so we would just go down there and pick like 4 or 5, and then we would sample through them. So. And the entire time he knew me, I think Bob was only drunk 5 times, and they were all when I was around.
Cool. Right.
And I will shut up now, I promise.
Sure you will.
Please mute me.
But yeah, so if you watched this far into the episode and you enjoyed it, please click like. If you're generous, please subscribe and click the little bell to be notified when new episodes come out. If you have a question for me or a question for Nick, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to forward anything to him that needs to be forwarded to him. If you have a suggestion for a beer style or a specific beer you'd like me to cover on the show, or a guest you'd like me to try and have on, please leave those comments in the aptly named comment section down below. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Rob from the internet. Cheers.